Good afternoon, and to those around the world, it may be a different time for you. I'm Elaine Katz. I'm Senior Vice President of Grants at Kessler Foundation in New Jersey, USA. Welcome to the Fireside Chat 2025. I'm here to interview Varun Chandak, founder and president of Access to Success, based in Canada, also known as ATS. ATS runs Canada's leading accelerator for accessibility startups. As of last year, ETS has worked with over 60 startups, benefiting 1.1 million people with disabilities. So welcome, Varun. Tell us more about your organization and what it does.
Thank you, Elaine. Before I begin, a quick visual description. I am a South Asian male wearing a blue t-shirt that says enable everyone, access to success.ca on it, and I'm wearing a suit jacket over it. So Access to Success, it's a Toronto-based not-for-profit, and as you said, we run Canada's leading accelerator for accessibility startups. It's a global program that provides unique programming, resources, network, funding to entrepreneurs who are creating life-changing innovations for people with disabilities. What that means is that anything that entrepreneurs in the innovation space for people with disabilities need, we try and provide them with that. We do that through our global network of partners, of our funders, of the amazing leaders that we get to work with, and we bring them all in to help these entrepreneurs and help answer some of the toughest questions that these entrepreneurs face. We work with startups across the entire spectrum of disability. That means we work with companies in mobility, in vision loss, in hearing loss, in cognitive challenges, disability agnostic startups, everything across the board.
That sounds wonderful that you're working with so many different populations. And thank you for reminding me to do a visual description. So I'm an older adult woman, I would say, with short brown hair and glasses that are framed in blue, and I'm wearing a maroon sweater jacket and a black shirt. So you talk a lot about the word accessibility. What exactly is accessibility and an accessibility startup accelerator?
So in the context of our work, we define accessibility startups as any startups that are creating innovations for people with disabilities. Now that could be products, it could be services, it could be experiences. Let me give you a few examples. For instance, we work with a lot of innovative startups in the wheelchair space. They're creating new ways, new innovations with wheelchairs. So for instance, we had one startup called Blueberry Technologies out of California that has created what's essentially an autonomous wheelchair for people to use at airports instead of the rickety old pushy wheelchairs that are usually available. And they're autonomous, so somebody can just put in the destination, which is their gate number, and the wheelchair will autonomously take them there. We also work with service-based businesses. So for instance, we work with a startup called Wimble out of Ottawa in Canada, which has created what can best be described as the Uber for personal support workers, because it's really hard to find and schedule PSWs. So this team created a whole group of PSWs that are available to you on demand whenever you should need them. These are startups that are essentially everything from AI to software to deep tech, hardware, everything across the board.
Mm-hmm. So that's interesting that you worked with autonomous wheelchairs. Walk us through the process of how a group comes to you and then exactly what you do with them to get to the point where they can use that in an airport.
So we are lucky that we get to work with amazing organizations around the world who share our mission, who share our passion, and we do a lot of collaborative work with them. So when it's time for us to open up applications, we send out word to everybody we know around the world. These are amazing leaders, amazing organizations, and they kindly enough share the information about our program with their networks, and that's how primarily word gets out. Now that we've been doing this for a while, the word itself has spread a little bit, just by word of mouth, so to speak, and so companies reach out to us all the time asking for help. But because we only run the program once a year, we will have a conversation with anyone who reaches out to us at any time of the year. But when it's time for us to open up applications, we reach back out to them and say, hey, now you can actually apply for the formal program. Now the program is fairly in demand, so we receive a lot of applications each year. Last year, for instance, we received 52 applications for 10 spots in the program from 6 countries, and we ended up admitting startups from 5 countries into the program. Once they're admitted into the program, we put them through a 3-month virtual cohort of masterclasses, essentially, that all take place virtually. Now, these masterclasses may be on inclusive design, on co-designing with the disability community. It may be on unique revenue models in this space. It may be on Health Canada and FDA clearances. It may be on marketing in this space, and it may be on fundraising, importantly, in this space. All of this takes place virtually over the course of 3 months and finally culminates with our flagship event of the year, the Demo Day, which takes place in a hybrid format, virtually and in person. And that's where all of these startups pitch to an audience of investors, of disability advocates, of disability leaders, disability organization representatives, all of them coming together for one big celebration.
That sounds like a fun time to listen to all these different pitches. So what do you look for when you're accepting an organization into your program?
So we do have a minimum eligibility criteria, of course, which includes that the startups must have the bare minimum an MVP, which is a minimum viable product. But more importantly, they must demonstrate meaningful co-design with the disability community. We don't necessarily require the entrepreneurs to have a disability themselves because we acknowledge that a lot of people get into this work because a loved one has a disability. What we ask is that they must work meaningfully with the disability community for the development of their innovation. After that, it's a matter of evaluating the applications, evaluating them in comparison to the other applications that we have received. It's about, can we actually help them? Because sometimes in the course of the application and our interviews with them, we realize that the startup is actually doing really well and they just need help with one little thing. And in this case, we're not going to tell them that you need to go through the 3-month program for us to help you. We will just tell you, hey, you're welcome to go through the program, but if you want, we can just help you with this outside of the program as well.
So tell us a little bit about whether the organization has to be a not-for-profit organization or it can also be an individual.
That's a really good question because we did initially start off with the goal of working primarily with for-profit venture-scale startups, but we did come across a lot of life-changing innovations being created by not-for-profits. And let's face it, we are a not-for-profit ourselves. So we decided to pivot a little bit, and now the program is open to any organization, no matter their form of incorporation, as long as that they meet the minimum eligibility criteria, and with the addition that they must have some form of a revenue model. They must have something that they can sell. It's okay if they don't yet know how to scale it, because that's what we are here for, but they must have an existing revenue model in place.
And how do they develop that revenue model if they don't have it in place? Is that something you help them do, like develop a business plan or a strategic plan?
So most of the companies that come to us are usually past a little bit of that stage where they've gone through that process of having some initial ideas of what their revenue model could look like. In fact, about half of the participants that go through our program usually are already generating revenue, so they usually have some idea. That said, it's okay if they only have some idea of what this revenue model could look like, as long as they have something that they can sell. We had one company, in fact, the Uber for personal support workers, PSWs, the company called Wimble, they came to us with a B2C, a business to consumer model. And they were struggling to scale it, but they met the minimum criteria and that they had something to sell. And then they went through the program and they went through the learnings that we had to share, that our speakers had to share, and they realized that they could actually scale this way faster and subsidize it for the end users with disabilities if they pivoted to a B2B model. So now instead of trying to sell this as an app for end users, they sell it to companies and event organizers and say if the event organizers pays Wimble, Wimble will have 2 PSWs or whatever the number may be available on hand at their event or conference at all times for any attendee who may need them can use them. So now they're actually getting a lot more success after pivoting, but that came with some form of revenue model already.
So it sounds like you have a lot of experience and knowledge in this area. Tell us how you arrived at this company and what was your journey to make this all happen?
So I have a couple of disabilities myself. I'm hard of hearing, so I was reading the live captions just now, and I have what's called Erb's palsy, which is a form of partial paralysis in my left arm. So a lot of the work that I do stems from my own experiences with disability. More specifically, because I rely so heavily on lip reading, live captions, and my hearing aids, I've never been able to speak on the phone for the better part of my life. The first real phone call I had was with the woman who's now my wife at the ripe old age of 30 years. And that's because it was that late in my life that the tech world caught up and provided live captions for phone calls. But that's not enough for me. I dream of a future where I would have smart contact lenses that could use AI and artificial reality to give me live captions, because I want my tech to be invisible. I don't want to be necessarily identified as having a disability unless I choose to disclose that. Now that tech does not exist, and I don't think it's going to exist for quite some time. But in the course of the work that I was doing with entrepreneurs, with my organization, I met a lot of entrepreneurs who were working on other dreams for other people with disabilities. And those entrepreneurs told me that they needed help, that they have questions they can't find the answers to. And so we realized that the organization that we put together, we can actually put that to good use to help these other entrepreneurs make those new dreams come true.
Well, that's quite a story. That's really terrific that you used your own background to kind of launch this accelerator. I know you worked with so many companies so far and organizations. Tell us what's your biggest success story, and how have what they were like when they came to you, and now what they're doing.
Oh boy, you're asking me to choose from the best of the best. There's one company that comes to mind called Imaginable Solutions out of Hamilton in Ontario, Canada. And they have created what's essentially a mechanical device that somebody with an upper limb mobility limitation could use, and they can hang out of that gimbal to draw again, or to use digital devices like a tablet or an iPad again. When they had started this as a student initiative. In fact, this entrepreneur was a student when she came to us, and she had started this for children with disabilities to help them draw again. We helped her go through the program, learn about the principles of inclusive design, learn about the idea of expanding to adjacent use cases. And now she's one of the most well-known entrepreneurs in Canada. They have expanded to something like 15 countries. They are present in, I think, over 45 US states at this point. And they sell this product for anyone who may have any form of upper limb mobility limitations, people with arthritis, older people who might have gotten into an accident, anyone with any form of an acquired disability. And the materials, the videos that they share of the sheer joy of somebody who missed drawing for so much of their life because they acquired a disability and they can draw again, just watching that makes my heart melt.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. To regain a skill or enjoy an activity that they weren't able to do before is for somebody is really meaningful. So if I'm an entrepreneur and I meet your initial criteria, how much do I have to pay for this all these services that you offer?
It's all free.
It's all free.
It's all free. We don't charge anything. We don't take any equity. We do this because we believe in the work that these entrepreneurs are doing. We do this because we see the need of the work that these entrepreneurs are doing. We do this because we want these startups, these innovations to succeed past that initial stage, that initial flame. We want these startups to scale globally and make the impact that we know these entrepreneurs can make. So it's all free.
So I know on your website, because I was looking through it to make sure I understood what you do, you're involved in an accessibility investments database. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so one of the most frequent questions that we receive from entrepreneurs is about where do I find funding? Who can invest in what I do? And we realized that we were becoming a bottleneck as a team to answer that question. And we wanted the answer to this question to be available to anyone who needs this answer. So we created, as I said, the Accessibility Investments Database, which is the world's first database of investments in accessibility startups beginning with North America. It's got 1,800 investment transactions in accessibility startups by more than 1,200 investors, detailed profiles of over 300 investors who have made more than one investment in the space, and like everything else we do, it's all available on our website, entirely free of charge, no strings attached.
That's really terrific. So if you're interested in learning more information, Varun's hashtag is #EnableEveryone. So thank you so much today for joining us in this fireside chat, and you can always visit Varun's website online. Thank you again.
Thank you.